Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're traveling back in time to the summer of 2002 to look at a tournament that fundamentally changed international football forever. The 2002 FIFA World Cup was a massive deal. It was the very first to be held in Asia, the first outside the Americas of Europe, and the first to be jointly hosted by two nations. It was, without a doubt, the most groundbreaking and honestly unpredictable tournament in history. So consider this explainer your essential retro survival guide to the ultimate footballing roller coaster. Let's dive in. But really, ask yourself, how do you survive the most chaotic World Cup in history? If you were a fan following this tournament, how could you possibly navigate the geographic hurdles, the underlying political tensions, and, well, the absolute destruction of every single prediction you made? Because, spoiler alert, the heavyweights tumbled, the underdogs absolutely soared, and the rules of the game quite literally changed. So, to survive it, we're breaking this guide down into 3 key steps. 1. Navigate joint hosts. 2. Expect major upsets. And 3. Review the stats. All right, let's jump right into step 1, navigate joint hosts. For the very first time in World Cup history, we are dropping you right into Asia. And to survive 2002, you first need to understand the incredibly complex groundwork that brought the tournament here in the first place. You see, South Korea and Japan are historic, political, and sporting rivals. Initially, they actually presented separate, rival bids to host the tournament, alongside Mexico. FIFA leaders were completely split on this. The FIFA boss at the time backed the Japanese bid, but UFA and the Asian Football Confederation sought a totally different path. They essentially forced these two historic rivals to co-host, viewing a joint venture as a much better option than a standalone bid from either nation. It was a massive PR battle, and eventually, South Korea and Japan were faced with a pretty stark choice: share the World Cup or don't have it at all. Reluctantly, they chose to co-host. Now, while historically their relations have been, well, pretty strained, the event ultimately forced a massive collaboration. The World Cup promoted a global vision of cooperation between Japan and South Korea. It basically acted as this incredible diplomatic and cultural experiment, and it played out right there on the world's biggest sporting stage. But what did this actually mean for you, the fan? Well, logistically, it was a beast. I'm talking 20 different venues spread across the two nations. Interestingly enough, not a single match was played in Tokyo proper. It's a rare instance where a host country's capital didn't have a venue, though to be fair, nearby cities did host. And if you're watching from Europe, your internal clock was severely tested. Because of the time difference, matches were played during the European morning. Fans were waking up at dawn, and get this, some schools and businesses literally opened late just so people could watch the morning matches. You had to plan your entire life around these time zones. Okay, moving right along to step 2, expect major upsets. Because once you figured out what time to set your alarm, your tournament bracket was about to be completely destroyed. Seriously, if we map out the consecutive sequence of shocking events from a fan's point of view, it looks like pure chaos. Right out of the gate on May 31st, tournament debutant Senegal absolutely stunned the world by beating the reigning champions France 1-0. Then, fast forward to June 12th, and second favorites Argentina get knocked out in the group of death. And then, June 18th, co-hosts South Korea eliminate powerhouse Italy in the round of 16. The heavyweights were tumbling out early, and it was happening a lot. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of the collapse by the defending champions. France entered the tournament as the title holders, right? But they were eliminated in the group stage after earning just a single point and scoring absolutely 0 goals. 0! It was an unbelievable outcome that completely upended everyone's expectations right from the starting whistle. On the flip side, you had this euphoric, magical run by co-host South Korea. Propelled by just this massive sea of fans in red, they topped their group by defeating Poland and Portugal. Then, in the knockout stages, they defeated Italy and Spain to reach the semifinals. They became the very first team from outside Europe or the Americas to reach the semifinals since 1930. The atmosphere in those host cities was absolutely electric. But, of course, this unprecedented run didn't come without immense controversy. Consider this number for a second. 400,000. That represents the staggering number of complaints filed following questionable referee decisions in the South Korea versus Italy match alone. The intense fan atmosphere and those incredibly high stakes led to massive global debates over the officiating. It's undeniable, the drama off the ball was definitely matching the drama on it. And South Korea wasn't the only underdog making waves. The United States beat their regional rivals Mexico 2-0 to advance to the quarterfinals. Turkey went on this phenomenal run all the way to the semifinals, and Senegal, in their very first World Cup appearance, reached the quarterfinals. This tournament just had this unique, highly unpredictable flavor where no giant was safe. Oh, and adding to this absolute nerve-wracking fan anxiety was the golden goal rule. If you've never heard of it, it was basically a sudden death rule used in extra time. The very first team to score instantly wins the match. Done. It decided crucial, heart-stopping games like Senegal's win over Sweden and South Korea's victory over Italy. And it's really vital to note here, 2002 was the very last World Cup to ever use this rule. So the crucial point is, after all the madness, we have to look at the numbers. Step 3. Review the stats. Because after all the tears, the early mornings, and the sheer chaos, only the hard data remains. The final standings showcase a really fascinating blend of expected soccer powerhouses and historic underdogs. Brazil took the crown with a perfect 21 points, and Germany finished as runners-up. But remarkably, spots 3 and 4 were claimed by Turkey and South Korea. Honestly, it's a perfect statistical snapshot of just how wild this tournament truly was. When it comes to the top goal scorers, one man really towered over the competition. Brazil's Ronaldo scored an incredible 8 goals to win the Golden Shoe. And following his heartbreak in the 1998 final, this was literally the ultimate redemption story. He was followed by his teammate Rivaldo and Germany's Miroslav Klose, both coming in with 5 goals apiece. And hey, here is a piece of mind-blowing trivia to keep in your fan survival kit. 10.8 seconds. That is the exact amount of time it took for Turkey's Hakan Şükür to score right from the opening kickoff in the third-place match against South Korea. To this day, it remains the fastest goal in FIFA World Cup history. Just incredible. Now, through all the chaos we've talked about, one team was flawlessly consistent. Brazil secured their historic 5th World Cup win with total dominance. They won all 7 of their matches, boasting a staggering plus 14 goal difference. But most incredibly, they became the only team since 1986 to win the trophy without needing a single penalty shootout during the knockout phase. They simply outclassed everyone in regular time. The 2002 tournament also brilliantly illustrates a historic global spread. In the Final Four, we had 2 teams from Europe, 1 from South America, and for the first time ever, 1 from Asia. In fact, the quarterfinals featured teams from 5 different continents. The game had truly gone global in a way we had never seen before. Which brings us to our final takeaway. The 2002 World Cup wasn't just a series of football matches. It was an economic and cultural force. It generated an estimated $1.3 billion in revenue for South Korea and Japan. It proved that co-hosting could actually work, paving the way for future joint bids, like the massive one we're going to see in 2026. So looking back at the brilliant upsets, the crazy logistical hurdles, and the ultimate triumph of Brazil, ask yourself, how did the massive chaotic legacy of 2002 forever change the way the world views international sports hosting today? Keep that in mind the next time you sit down to watch a World Cup match.